Please welcome Hunter Downey, Senior Director, SAP NS2.
That's right. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the NS2 Secure Cloud Innovate, Automate, and Enable Cloud panel. Now, we have a very special guest list lined up for everyone today that's going to provide many different great perspectives on cloud for government and highly regulated customers. My name's Hunter Downey, and I'm going to be the moderator of your cloud panel. Now, before we begin and introduce our guests, I just want to take a moment and set the stage for our foundation for the topic of discussion. At its core, we want to explore, but also demystify how cloud can be used to support the mission of our customers. Now, the NS2 Secure Cloud can be delivered in two primary methods: software as a service and platform innovation. From a SaaS perspective, it's about identifying the core business capabilities that all of you need to be successful and bring them into your enterprise immediately. Just imagine the capability. Everybody here, take a step back. Imagine the capability to better empower your workforce in their careers. Or how about provide enterprise visibility with immediate results without the implementation? The cornerstone of where we go here is this, is that we need to make sure that as customers and individuals that use from a security standpoint are successful and they drive that value. My last point is just imagine getting significant advancement with also getting innovations and capabilities without any effort. Now, from a platform perspective, it's different. It's about leveraging the innovation from the hyperscalers and automating and perfecting the capabilities that all of you need to be cloud enabled. You have the utmost security with the best expertise, supported with the most comprehensive coverage of individuals. Think about it this way. It's like your own personalized cloud force field specifically designed for you. Now, at NS2, we've had significant success, in particular across the Department of Defense. And it's the natural evolution of going from on-premise to cloud across massive volumes of cloud infrastructure. Truly an amazing feat. You know what it's driven from? It's driven from the natural evolution of modernizing the operational applications and harnessing the benefits of the cloud. Now, I gotta tell you, our secret is simple. Absolute protection, natural integration with the cloud hyperscalers, and providing security and expertise in everything that we do, all driven from the need of putting our customers first. That specialization and expertise that I talked about, it's like having the best set of doctors watch over each and every one of you and your families 24/7 because you are the number one priority. So with that, let's begin the panel. Let's welcome to the stage Bill Moore, Deputy Assistant Chief of Staff, G4 Army. Absolutely, please. John Holliday, Specialist Executive, Deloitte Consulting. Ken Hefner, Vice President, IBM, and Jennifer Cronus, AWS DoD. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
That's great. So what I want to say is that this panel brings that message home because we have so many great perspectives. We have leaders that have adopted cloud, innovation and growth from a world-class hyperscaler, and best practices and expertise from an implementation perspective. I think just to set the stage for the audiences, for each one of you, and we can go in this order just to make it easiest, provide a little bit of an overview of your organization and the impact of cloud. Bill, let's start with you.
Okay, thanks a bunch, Hunter. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff, G4, which is all things Army logistics. And part of my portfolio is to sort of lead our way through the logistics IT systems. And I'll just broaden that a little bit, the business systems overall. So we've been on a journey. We have major ERPs already in place. 4 instances really that I'd like to mention. GCSS Army, which is our tactical Army logistics system. this thing called LMP, or Logistics Modernization Program. I won't even explain the acronyms, but we have a wholesale system, we have a retail tactical system, we have a finance system called GFEBS, and then we have a data hub, which is a fourth instance of SAP called ASIP that brings it all together. And they are very customized among the four, which is one of our challenges. They are all on-prem, but we are in the midst of moving right now. GFEBS and ASIP are both starting their journey to move, and we're trying to, I am trying to accelerate moving the others. And so what we want to do is obviously take advantage of what we are hearing that the cloud can do for us. You know, I've never, ever had an instance where we've been able to achieve better, cheaper, and faster. And at least what I'm being promised is we can get there with the cloud. And of course, I've got to add, and more secure along the way. So I'll just use G-Army as an example. We have it is on-prem. We have our primary location in one place, then we have a disaster recovery site in another. It's a very archaic approach on how we would fail over from one to the other, and it's probably my number one risk that I have to manage. And we measure the time it takes to fail over in days, not hours, so which is a killer. And that's probably the number one reason in my world that we want to try to get that particular system into the cloud. General McConville, our new Chief of Staff, is a great leader, but he feels like our Army is still in the industrial age and we need to get to the information age. And when we tried to explain to him that we've come a long way, we've got a lot of systems out there now in the IT space, and he said, yeah, but what we've done is we've redefined industrial age process inside a computer, and we've got to make that next leap. And we see is getting to the cloud as part of that leap. So.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Thank you. And John, I'd like if you can answer it on behalf of where you are now as well as some of your previous roles.
So I'll start with some of my previous roles. So I was the CFO at the U.S. Department of Agriculture under the Obama administration. And we implemented SAP first there in 2010. And in 2016, we were hitting the point where two things were very obvious. Number one, we could not keep up with the threat in cybersecurity anymore and own our own assets. We just did not have the resources to invest in securing from the desktop to the mountaintop, and the mountaintop being the server environment. So we were looking for ways to use a famous quote, use other people's money. And by that, I mean other people's investments, to leverage what other people had done. So cybersecurity was a big business driver for us to move to the cloud. But I want to play off something Bill said of better, faster, cheaper. We saved 70% on our storage cost after going to the cloud. I mean, that was a technological benefit of changing the technology layer and moving to Suite on HANA when we went to the cloud. So we went from an Oracle database to Suite on HANA, cut 70% of my storage cost. Overall, though, because of leveraging other people's investment and not having to pay back borrowed funds on buying my own equipment, I wound up putting several $1 million back in the agriculture budget, reducing our operating cost every year by 7 figures, over 7 figures. So there's the cheaper. There were processes in SAP in our legacy environment we could not even run because we would run out of time to run the process within the allowable window. So for instance, we couldn't do the FI to CO reconciliations anymore. When we went to Suite on HANA, not only were we able to run those processes, they ran within minutes, not within hours. So it bought back capacity that my employees were spending waiting on reports, waiting for data in order to analyze. So it was an efficiency improvement to the workforce. The other thing it allowed me to do is to be in a scalable environment where I didn't have to come up with large pots of money if I needed to add capacity. You know, someone else was paying that. So that use case for us was all about really being able to continue to operate in a secure environment and improve security presence by leverage. Second, reducing our operating cost. And third, buying back workforce time and improving efficiency. Since I've been with Deloitte, which I joined Deloitte in 2017, I've been heavily involved with another large government agency that I've watched repeat the same journey and move to the cloud, and they're seeing the same benefits. Their system was on the verge of becoming the world's greatest data safe because it had grown to be such a large database that was becoming increasingly difficult to get information out of it within a reasonable amount of time. So it was becoming more and more secure, you know, because no one could get anything out. But at the same time, it wasn't meeting the mission demand anymore. So by making that move to the cloud, leveraging the innovation, because what it didn't talk about in my use case, which I do agree with, there was innovation also achieved from the migration. Leveraging the innovation that has been invested by NS2 and their partners as part of that move, again, allowed them to get capabilities and functionality back that they didn't have before. And you see this over and over in the state and local market, you see it in the federal market, you see it in the commercial market. You see that everyone is starting to realize, number one, I can't defend everything myself. I have to choose some things to leverage other people's money. And that's a key driver in that discussion, Hunter, for regardless. It was an agriculture driver, it's a state and local driver, it affects everyone.
No, that's incredible insight for everyone. Wouldn't you say? This is great. Yeah. Ken, just for you as well, a little background and impact.
Yeah, sure. And first of all, you know, thanks for inviting me here, and thanks to Mark Downey, and I enjoyed his speech this morning. One of my biggest takeaways is that he's even older than I am, which I really appreciate, Mark. And as I talk, you'll hear about, you know, one of the things that I've discovered as this journey to cloud is there's incredible parallels to other major transformations in industry. So first of all, before I go there, my current role is at IBM, and I lead our enterprise applications consulting practice. So for us, it's all about building capability and tools and retooling what we do and how we do it to support our clients. And Bill's a very, very important client, so I have to behave myself up here. To enable and help them on their journey to the cloud. And if I look back, right, so 35 years ago, you know, there was a big transformation where people were saying, hey, we're going to go from building our own applications to buying commercial off-the-shelf software. So I don't know if anyone from SAP thinks that was a good idea or a bad idea. Probably a good idea, right? And at that time, it was the same challenges, right? It was the same concerns. People were saying, no, we can't open up our business processes and our data to the outside. We'll lose control. We can't do it. And in truth, government was one of the later adopters, but clearly it was the right move, and here we are. You know, fast forward, remember client server? We're going to go from centralized to multi-level. Again, same issues. Concern over data, getting access to people that need the data, and preventing access from the bad actors. And fast forward to today, you know, the number of bad actors and the things that people can do with data, not only to disrupt our business, but now to do harm to our country and our people, it really is life and death stuff. So, you know, as a parent, you talk about, you know, small kids, small problems, big kids, big problems. We have bigger challenges now, no question, but we've figured them out in the past, and I have no doubt we'll do so in the future. So, you know, thanks for having us here, and look forward to a great discussion.
Pleasure. No problem. And Jennifer, this must be an easy one for you.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. We really appreciate the partnership that we have with the NS2 team and everybody on the stage. First, I'd like to open up by saying go Nats.
Exactly.
Game 7 tonight.
Yep.
You know, MLB StatCast runs on AWS, if you didn't notice that, so pay attention tonight. But just real briefly, AWS for the last 13 years has been the world's most comprehensive and widely adopted cloud platform. We started AWS in 2006. 4 years later, we started our public sector business led by Teresa Carlson to work with not only the federal government, but our governments around the world, as well as the state and local governments and our customers in the education space. And today, I'm really proud to say that we have over 5,000 government agencies, over 10,000 academic institutions, and over 28,000 nonprofits running on AWS. So we're really proud of the work that we have been doing in the public sector since 2010. Just at a very high level, AWS is comprised of 69 availability zones, 22 regions around the world, and we have announced plans for 3 more regions in Italy, South Africa, and Indonesia. We have over 165 services on the AWS platform, spanning from compute, storage, networking, database, AI, ML, Internet of Things, and many, many other services. We have reduced prices 75 times since AWS started in 2006. And I would just say all of the things that everybody has articulated here on the stage are the reasons why we see our customers moving at a very rapid pace to AWS. Better security, cheaper, faster, access to innovation that our customers haven't had in many, many years, and just the ability to be agile and to innovate at a much, much more rapid pace. So thank you.
No, that's great. I think we've got some good stories of customers going towards the cloud. And I think the part that everyone's pretty curious on is the minute someone says you have to go to cloud, what were some of those initial planning things that you were working for internally to think about what do you need to accomplish before you start?
Yeah, well, from my point of view, this was a couple years ago when they first approached me with the better, cheaper, faster argument. And I thought of actually back to World War II. Admiral Ernest King said a very famous quote about logistics. He said, "I don't know what the hell logistics is, but I want some of it." And I felt like that must be what this cloud thing is, because I had no idea really what it meant. Mm-hmm. But I wanted some if it really was better, cheaper, faster. So. And eventually I was convinced that we can actually get there. And like I mentioned, just in our failover and how do we keep this system at single point of failure for our Army up and running 24/7, was a valuable selling point to me. So we've got our, the 4 ERPs I mentioned. We are moving out on 2 of them right now. We should have them move to the cloud. Most of them move to the cloud in about the June, July timeframe of next year. Working to accelerate now how to get GCSS Army, the tactical logistics system, moved to the left, and as well as the 4th one, we'll be working that as well as we move forward. So trying to move them all, accelerate them to the extent we can to the left. And of course that creates cost issues and trying to figure out what is the cost of that. Mm-hmm. When do we make the leap from our ECC baselines? Should have mentioned that earlier. All of these instances are ECC baselines, and we have to figure out how do we, get to the S/4HANA promised land. As Kirsten mentioned earlier, the cloud is heaven. Maybe we should wait and not go today, but I think we're ready to move out on that. On top of that, though, I did want to mention we've got over 150, just in the logistics IT portfolio that I manage, over 150 what I'll call legacy systems. A lot of them I want to migrate into the ERPs themselves, and we're working on that with transportation. In partnership with Transcom, we've got something called the Transportation Management System. And what I'd like to do is get all Army transportation IT into that. Ammunition, we're right in the middle of source selection on an ammunition OTA that may or may not get us into an ERP environment, but that's what we're aiming for, to see if, what's the right approach on ammunition management, which is critical to us. But there are others that we're not even looking at migrating, but I believe we need to get them to the cloud. And we're making some moves there. Just a couple of examples. C-Probe, which is the system we use to create the Army's budget. Mm-hmm. We have moved that to AWS, and all of the instances I've mentioned to date have been that we're moving to cloud. It's all AWS, so We're there.
We're with you.
Got a couple that might be moving to a different cloud, and we have a food management system that's moving to a different cloud, as well as a system that we use to investigate lost property and stuff like that. But one of the challenges is how do we, there are many clouds out there, and we probably aren't going to end up all on one single cloud, but we got to figure out how does data cross the various clouds, and how can we do that cheaply and hopefully fast. Last thing I wanted to mention, we built something called the Army Leader Dashboard. Went through a competitive process on that. Palantir ended up with the system that we have to date. That actually is in the AWS secure side, and it is really allowing us to see ourselves as an Army. But part of that problem is it's allowing us to see ourselves as an Army. And in my world, we've got a lot of log data, and not all of it is good. So it's created this whole campaign that I'm leading on logistics data and how we improve its quality while reducing the latency. How we feed data into the Army Leader Dashboard is kind of industrial age. And General Milley, as our Chief of Staff, before he fleeted up to the chairman's position, literally put his finger in my chest and said, you got to do a lot better than that, because it's about a day old in how we dump our data into the Leader Dashboard. So part of our journey is getting to the cloud, back to faster. We want minutes, not hours or days.
Absolutely.
And how our data gets to where we can see it and make good decisions in a tactical environment.
I really like that answer, because I think Bill did a really good job of articulating that when someone goes to the cloud, there's organizational impacts, there's behavioral impacts, there's technology impacts. So that's a phenomenal takeaway. And John?
Yeah. The toughest situation we faced, I think, was we had a slow move to the cloud because of cultural issues. Our CIO's office initially started with, well, we need to wait and see. We need to wait and see how all the security pieces of this play out. And they took a skeptical approach. At the same time, my office took an approach of, well, we need to see the cost savings. And then one day, our colleagues down the aisle here at Amazon cut their prices tremendously in a single day. They came out, I can't remember the percentage, but it was double digit. And it was a huge price cut. It changed the dynamics. All of a sudden, the cost information said, don't crawl, don't walk, but run as fast as you can. You can't afford not to do this. Our CIO was still a little skeptical, and a large part of it is because the staff felt like they were going to lose control and lose the ability to do the things they wanted. So we had to spend a lot of time dealing with that cultural change aspect. And some of the tactics we used were to educate how vulnerable we were. One of the things our cyber team at the CIO's office and at one of our data centers insisted they were great because they had never been breached. Ha ha ha. That's a great fallacy that you've never been breached. Second is, well, we have these red team tests all the time and they never get all the way through. It's easy to prepare when you know someone's coming and you put limits on what they can do. So we commissioned a DHS red team to come in unannounced, unknown to anyone and penetrate.
That must have been a fun day.
They got all the way through, is the point. So it took away that talking point that we're secure, because it proved we weren't. And then we said, let's show how broad this environment is. We crafted a phishing campaign. And phishing, it's all about how good your message is. So we used one that actually, looking at it, it's quite funny. We used Ashley Madison. We sent an email to everyone and we said, your name is on the list. Click here. 48% of employees clicked there.
Wow. That's great.
All right, so the quick joke about that is, I guess 48% of my workforce were cheaters. But the point is, it's how well you craft it. Well, what that campaign did is it put payload on the computer that was looking for credentials. So it was used to show that we were able to get administrator credentials as part of that campaign, that architect campaign. Everyone started to understand then we're not spending enough on cybersecurity. To give you the example, we would have been the nation's 8th largest bank at USDA. That's the business market we were in. We had logistics information about the food supply that goes to the nation's schools to feed children, how it's distributed, where it stops, and the security protocols involved in it. We had information about the nation's food supply relative to liquid eggs, liquid milk, how it's transported, how it's protected, and how to keep that secure. Not something you don't want to spend enough money on. You know, that's a simple life, health, safety. We also had personal information on law enforcement officials, 6 heads of cabinet-level departments, including home address as well as residence address when they were in the nation's capital. So when you look at all that, you start going, I'm a lot more vulnerable than I think I am. I need to do something different here. So the cultural piece of this, of getting people ready for, no, this isn't about you're going to give up control. We're going to do this differently. We still need you, but what you do is going to be different than what you do today. You're not going to rub the belly of the server and tell it how good it's doing. You know, you're going to do some other things. You're not going to touch hardware. Amazon, Microsoft, VirtuStream, whoever else is involved is going to rub the server and keep it running. But you're going to do work related to our mission. And it's making sure they understood this wasn't about eliminating jobs or taking work away. This was, again, about improving our posture and doing more with what we have.
Again, pretty incredible insight. And I think the part that I really like here is when John tells his stories, he's talking about organizationally how to put a perspective that we need it. You know, let's put costs to the side, but how do we make sure we secure workloads because it's truly a need that everyone recognizes? So Ken and Jennifer, I want to go to you. From your perspective, when you work with your customers, what are some of the steps that you recommend to them in terms of planning their cloud deployment?
Yeah. Well, let me start off by saying, you know, John, I hope that the 48%, the names are secure and they're vaulted away somewhere. Yeah, thanks, Senator. You know, to me, the process of, you know, in working with clients to engage on data security and cybersecurity is really very similar to putting in ERP systems and AS systems. It's first of all, to both Bill and John's point, it's not a technology issue. It's a technology, business process, and also change management and people and how we look at it. Second of all, this is a lifelong thing. There's no beginning and end. We are getting much better at our defensive tools and how we defend against cybersecurity. And the bad actors are also getting better. So we have a battle that we will continually be fighting from here going forward. We all have to recognize that and make a commitment to that. But to me, it's the same as looking at a new system. You have to start off with the right set of requirements, right? And understanding your organization and really capture the right requirements regarding what are your data systems, what are your entry points, and really lock down what needs to be secure and what doesn't. Don't overstate your requirements, because that be excessive in terms of money and investment, and then build it to the right design. And again, the requirements and design all touch all 3 aspects of people and technology and business. So it's really it's a holistic view. It's end to end. It's not, and it's going to, and it's forever. So it's not a beginning and end, and it's not a aspect of your business. It really covers the entire business.
That's great. And Jennifer.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll say I love hearing the stories of the experiences that our customers have had on AWS, because the one thing that we really believe differentiates us is that we always start with the customer and work backwards. And that drives 90% of the services that we build on AWS are driven by customer feedback. And we like to do the same thing when we're working with our customers to begin their journey to the cloud and begin their migrations. Part of that is also not only understanding the customer's requirements and their goals and milestones and timelines, but also working very closely with our partner network to ensure that our customers are successful. Our Amazon Partner Network, or APN, has tens of thousands of partners that we work with every single day to make sure our customers are successful, and that's really, really important to us. But I would just echo a few of the things that my colleagues here have said. Obviously, moving to the cloud is a big cultural change for a lot of organizations, and so you really do have to have the executive leadership and buy-in to make the move successful, and you've seen that, with some of the folks that we have here on the stage. Number one. Number two, socializing the plan to ensure that everybody involved understands the benefits of moving to the cloud. Third is really a strong focus on workforce development and training. Migrating to the cloud and operating in the cloud is different than a lot of the work that many of our employees in government organizations are used to. And so on AWS, we have a very strong training program where we offer over 400 courses at no cost, and also do face-to-face training and customized training with our customers. And then finally, I would say just get started. Our customers who have been the most successful have picked a workload, picked a place to start, and have just dug in and addressed the blockers as they come up. There's really no other way to do it.
So I want to go back to Bill and John for a moment. I think it's important to ask, how do you know what cloud solution, if it's going to be a good organizational fit? How do you evaluate it before it starts?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a tough one. But let me talk first of all, and I'm trying to get this picture of somebody rubbing the belly of a server out of my head. But because one of the challenges is cultural, and the other is talent. We have folks that are still out there that are saying, nope, we need to keep it on-prem. We can keep it more secure, and I don't obviously believe that. Actually, led an effort where we hired a hacking company to come in and see how secure we were. We called it Hacking the ERP effort about 1.5 years ago. Very, very enlightening effort. Justin Samani, who was the chief security officer of SAP at the time, he and I were on speed dial because it was a 2-week window where we were offering bounties for these hackers to be able to come in and see what they could do. And we were slowly opening the door of our ERP to where they could get in. And actually we did very well, but the fact that we were on-prem created some challenges. There were vulnerabilities that had been fixed months prior that had not been applied just because of the archaic way we were implementing some of the patches. And so very enlightening for me in how we do that, and I think we can solve that problem and do it much better. We are already doing it much better, but do it even better as we get to the cloud. But that brings me to, so you got that cultural piece, and we'll overcome it. I mean, necessity is the mother of innovation, and to me, innovation can trump strategy, in spite of Peter Drucker's famous quote that culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think we can eat culture via innovation. But back to the talent side, NS2 Serves is a great program, and we are robbing your graduates as fast as we can. We're still hiring at Aberdeen. Yeah,
big pivot. That's great.
At our Communications Electronic Command, CCOM as we call it, we have an Army Shared Services up there. Is where we manage our log IT now. And I met some of the graduates there just a few weeks ago as I went up there and checking on them, and they're still way behind in their hiring process. So can't wait for this current class to get over the finish line, and we'll be getting those that we can up there where they can serve those who serve. But that's a great program. But that's another challenge we're having. You know, the whole data thing and how we get the data to where it's in the cloud, where we can share that with the Army, and the security piece of that, because in the Army we deem our logistics data unclassified, and that's always been a battle with the security folks, because when you get enough of it, you can actually see things that are classified. And that fuzzy line, where does that transition in the Army Leader dashboard? We keep that on the secure side. But it does bring enough data sets together to where it really it is classified secret. And so we got to figure out how do we manage our way through that. But that's some of the internal machinations we have gone through in trying to figure out how do we do this and do it quickly. We've heard horror stories of folks that jump too quickly, but I don't want to hesitate. I want to make sure we do it, and we do it in a smart way. But I know we've got to get there. And like I said, we have a plan. We're working toward it. I want to move that plan to the left where I can and where we can afford to.
That's great. And John, your perspective.
The government procurement process is incredibly complex. I will say we were lucky in that we were able to navigate it in a way where we found the right partner as part of that process. Because the most important thing of moving to the cloud, to me, is you need to have seamless integration with your own organization. And you need to get past it's their fault, their responsibility. Those words leave your vocabulary. It's our fault. It's our problem. It's our solution. And you need a partner that embraces that. And you need a partner that understands when things are not going well, we don't start the conversation with, well, you didn't do this, or they didn't do this. It's, what are we going to do to fix it? How do we address this problem? And that was the type of partnership that we had with NS2 as part of our migration, as well as with the other multi-vendors we had in the environment, including Deloitte, Accenture, VirtuStream. Everybody ultimately got to that point of, we need to do this together. We're going to work through the hiccups in the road together. And there will be hiccups. I mean, telecommunications for us was a huge challenge. We went from we were going to do migration across the wire to we were shipping hard drives or appliances, not hard drives, appliances, in order to do the migration because of the size of the database, and then catching up an incremental file over the wire. But everybody had to come together in order to hone that strategy. And it took both sides working together. So I can't stress enough, it's spend a lot of time with your partner up front, invested in the relationship. Because when the rubber hits the road, it's the quality of that relationship that's going to help you have success. There will be challenges in the journey. It's how the team responds to those challenges that will determine whether it's successful or it's not successful, is what my experience demonstrated. And I'm glad we spent a little over a year trying to pick the right partner up front. It made our migration a lot easier than if we had went into it without doing any of that dance up front. And I am looking for Harish, but I think it was 13 months all total from the time we started until we finished. And that included a SAP software upgrade, a migration to the cloud, and a migration from the Oracle database to Suite on HANA, all at one time. And the team did an incredible job of hitting schedule and dealing with a lot of opportunities to change the strategy in order to hit the date. Because, again, there were challenges along the way. Things didn't work the way everybody thought they would. But having that relationship helped the team get through it and stay on schedule, stay on budget. So relationship to me is the number one criteria for success.
That is tremendous insight. I want to go back just because we have some time. Jennifer, we'll start with you and come this way. Is share some of the benefits and innovation that you've seen that your customers have consumed after they're done.
Sure. So, as we talked about earlier, one of the biggest benefits that we've seen with customers adopting cloud is just the ability to access innovation more quickly and more readily. We have customers like Army Cyber Command who have been using AWS to more quickly identify cyber threats on the battlefield by bringing cloud to the tactical edge, and they have had the ability to identify cyber threats 500 times more quickly than they would have in their previous environment. We have customers like the Air Force who have chosen to put their global positioning system, GPS OCX, into AWS GovCloud to more rapidly build out their software test and dev environments, and they have found that processes that previously took them 15 weeks are now down to minutes. And we have many, many stories like that of customers who just continue to innovate much, much more rapidly by moving their data to the cloud. The most recent one that we're partnered with the NS2 team on is Navy ERP, which just migrated the largest government ERP system currently. Army might rival that.
We'll beat it.
To AWS GovCloud to be able to just essentially see all of the data that they've got and make use of it from an analytics perspective and a cost savings perspective all in one place.
That's great. And Ken?
Yeah, thanks. And some of ours are parallel. So we worked with the Navy to help migrate to the cloud, which today is the largest, and Army's close right behind. For us, there's a lot of kind of unexpected benefits. We have situations working with Army on their pilot where performance improved 4x, and it wasn't even a service level agreement or even an objective, but we're seeing some dramatic increase in performance. We're seeing on the administrative side, we're seeing there's been kind of a buildup of software and tools over a 20-25 year period, and as customers and our clients migrate to the cloud, they're taking an inventory of those tools and realizing they've been paying things that they might not need anymore. So there's really a massive cleanup administratively to software and tools and capabilities as we go to the cloud. And most importantly, as our clients go to the cloud, they can take their mission critical resources, people, and put them to their mission versus running IT shops and running data centers and running applications. So that to me has always been the #1 goal for all of these transformations in our industry of being able to free up your own critical resources to apply them to your personal missions.
Has this been an incredible conversation or what? Can I get it? Come on, let's get some clapping. This is amazing. This is amazing. I want to personally thank all of you on behalf of the entire NS2 organization. We are fortunate for your insight. And for everyone here, this is just jewels of knowledge coming through. And if you want to learn more about the cloud, I encourage you to go to the cloud campus in the back. Everyone, thank you so much.